Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Corporate Vice President of the Developer Division, Microsoft Corporation, Soma Somasagar.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Great. I'm going to look for my clicker here. I've found my clicker, so I can now be more comfortable. So, I do want to thank you all for coming here. It's a great pleasure for me to be here this afternoon and to get a chance to talk to you here at TechEd. One of the things I personally like about coming to such a forum is that I get a chance to interact with at least some of you. And if I look at this room of people, if I look at you all, I know that a lot of you have played a crucial role in working with us hand in hand in delivering the next version of Visual Studio, the next version of .NET Framework. And when I say that, some of you probably have given us feedback on our designs. Some of you have taken a look at our early builds in terms of community technology previews and the like. Some of you have given us bugs that we had to fix. Some of you have given us feedback on the kinds of functionality and scenarios that you wanted us to work on. Some of you have gone one step further and taken a bet on our products and technologies and building applications that you can deploy in production environment even before we ship the product, so that we know that by the time we ship the product, that it is truly ready for the demands by our customers and developers around the world. So for each and every one of you that have played a role in helping us shape and deliver a great set of products, I do want to take this opportunity and say a big thank you. Now, over the next few days here, we planned a lot of interesting and informative sessions for you all. And hopefully, as you walk through those sessions, you will share at least some of my enthusiasm for the kinds of innovation and innovative work that we are delivering today, in the coming month, and over the next 6 to 12 to 18 to 24 months. There's a lot of interesting stuff coming out here, and so I hope you have a great time here at TechEd. For me, this is the first time I'm coming to this wonderful city of Barcelona. Some of you may have already been here, or some of you may be living here, but I've heard so much about this city, so much fun thing about the culture, the architecture, the people. It was nice for me to get a chance to experience this. So I landed here a couple days ago, I think Saturday evening. And as soon as I landed, I found out that, hey, there is a dinner engagement that some of my colleagues had planned for. And I wasn't sure whether I needed to take the time out to go out for dinner because I just crossed many time zones. It was a long flight. I wasn't sure whether I should do it or not. I finally decided, hey, since my colleagues are already planned, let me go do this. They took me to a restaurant called Moo. It's in a hotel called Om. The interesting name. I said, let me go try it out. And as is typical of the local custom here, the dinner was set for 10 p.m. at night. A little bit too late for my taste, but I said, I'll go try it out. Went to that place, and little did I realize going in that that was going to turn out to be one of the most fantastic dining experiences that I've had in a long, long time. It was a long, dinner affair. It was a 3-hour thing, and by the time dinner was over, it was about 1 a.m. in the morning, and I was really tired. So as soon as I can politely, get out of the dinner, I sort of got out. I hopped into a cab, and I was driving back to my hotel. And I was sort of, reflecting upon, I was tired, not really excited going in, but somehow I went in. And why did it turn out to be such a fantastic experience for me? There were 2 things that jumped out at me. One, obviously, the chef and whoever else, was involved in preparing the food. They did a fantastic job pulling together, great food, great dinner. But equally going hand in hand with that was the ambience, the decor, the way the food was served, the way the food was presented. Together, it was a fantastic experience. And being the guy from the developer division at Microsoft, it quickly sort of hit home with me an analogy that I've been talking about for a couple of years now. In this world of connected applications and distributed applications and applications that run the next generation businesses, differentiated user experience is absolutely a key for the success of the business, of the developer of the application. And I've been saying for a while now that it's very, very important for developers and designers to come together to work hand in hand in a collaborative fashion using a set of tools that enables seamless workflow between the two sets of people. And if we can enable that, then I feel good about it, because the designer and developer together can build fantastic user experiences for the next generation applications. The products that we are working on between Expression Studio, Visual Studio, .NET Framework, Silverlight most recently, all of these products, technologies, tools, platforms are all geared towards enabling the designers and developers to work together in a collaborative fashion to enable our developers and designers to build great applications. If you go back in history and remember what happened 2 years ago this month, it was November 2005 when we launched Visual Studio 2005 and .NET Framework 2.0. So I thought I'll take a moment to sort of step back and reflect upon what kinds of things we've been seeing with these products in the marketplace with our developer customers. As of today, we have over 1 million professional developers from around the world. 1 million developers around the world taking a bet on Visual Studio 2005, taking a bet on .NET Framework 2.0 for the applications that they are building and for the successes they are seeing with their customers. No matter which way you look at it, that's a phenomenal number. Visual Studio 2005 is by far the most successful tool set, not just from Microsoft, but probably from pretty much anybody else out there. So I feel really good about the progress that we made there. With Visual Studio 2005, we also took this as an opportunity to expand the set of developers that we were going to target with this set of tools and this framework. So on the one end of the spectrum, we introduced a new set of products called the Visual Studio Express Editions, which was geared towards the beginner developers, people who are just about getting started with development, who may not have been professionals or who may not be proficient, but we wanted to provide a way where it was easy for people to get started, to learn, to start figuring out what it means to be developing applications and software, and just an easy way to get started. And if you look at the kinds of response that we've seen for Visual Studio Express, it's been mind-boggling. We've seen over 17 million downloads of the Visual Studio Express editions thus far. And clearly, I feel that we've been very successful in terms of broadening the reach of developers with our tool set using the Visual Studio Express. That is on one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum, we also wanted to use Visual Studio 2005 as our foray into the application lifecycle management tool space with the introduction of Visual Studio Team System and Team Foundation Server. Now, with these products, we said, hey, historically, we've always been focused on individual developer productivity. Every version of Visual Studio, we've been saying this. We wanted to provide a set of tools that made you, the individual developer, highly, highly, highly productive. And with Visual Studio Team System and Team Foundation Server, we want to take this opportunity and say, hey, let's expand our focus from focusing on the individual developer and their productivity to really think about the entire development team and make the team that much productive, enable the team to work together in a collaborative fashion. And as of today, over a fourth of our developer base, about 25 to 30% of our developers are using the Visual Studio Team System tools and really seeing the benefit and the power of those tools in an integrated fashion, working hand in hand with other members of the team against a common repository or a common store at the back end with Team Foundation Server. We made a good start in this space, and with the Visual Studio 2008 and everything else that's coming down the road, we feel like we are set to be even more successful for our customers in this space. As much as I'm excited about the technologies and the products and the cool stuff that we do at Microsoft, I've always believed in having a very vibrant and self-sufficient community to go hand in hand with our products to really enable the kind of success that we all care about enabling for ourselves and for our customers. If you take a look at the work that we've done in MSDN, about a year ago or a year and a half ago, if you had come to our MSDN forums, and if you had posted a query or a question or you wanted some information, we were running in the 30 to 40% response rate. In other words, there was a 30 to 40% chance that you had a question and there would have been answered in a timely manner. And that was an unacceptable state for me. My vision is this: if you are a developer taking a bet on our stack, no matter which part of the world you are in, if you have a question, if you have a query, if you need some information, if you are unblocked and want some help to unblock yourself so that you can move forward, you need to have the confidence that hey, I can post a query within a few hours, within a day, maybe at the most within 2 days. I know that somebody out there is going to help me clear my problem, help me answer my question so that I can move on and continue being productive. That's the state that I want us to be. So we decided a couple of years ago that hey, we need to invest a little bit in this space, because as much as we can say that the community is there for the sake of the community, we felt that we needed to jumpstart the community. So working hand in hand with some of you, the community leaders, we decided to do something about this. And as a result, today we are running a little over 80% response rate on our MSDN forums. 80% is not 100%, so we still have a little bit more way to go, but clearly we've come a long way in terms of making sure that each and every one of you can help each other as much as we can help you be successful in the process. So across the technology, the adoption, the momentum, the kinds of success that our customers are seeing, the kinds of vibrancy in the community, I feel really, really good about the progress that we've made with Visual Studio 2005 and .NET Framework 2.0 in the last couple of years. How do I describe our mission? We've always been focused on making sure that we take care of our developer customers. That's what the focus has been for our division and for a lot of the products and technologies that we've been working on. If you go back in history and look at 1975, which is when Microsoft came into existence, and ever since then, we've always been a platform company at our hearts. Today, if you look at our businesses, we are in the operating system business, we are in the client, server, devices space. We've got something in the games, we've got something in online services. We really are working on a set of products and technologies that span the breadth of the kinds of problems that you would want to see solved using software. So when you're working across this breadth, how do I think about us as a platform company? Pretty much every piece of software that we do, we always think about it as having a platform component and an end user application or an experience component. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that being a platform company, you can never scale up to meet the demands of every customer out there. So the best thing that we can do is to make sure that we have a great platform that is extensible, that is modular. And yeah, we will probably be building a set of applications and experiences on top of the platform, but I fully expect the rest of the developer community around the world to be able to build additional applications, additional experiences, additional services on top of this platform and be able to deliver great experiences for our customers. So if I take a look at that from that perspective, I really want to be in the business of delivering a set of tools, a set of runtimes, a set of platforms that provide the broadest pipeline to the developer community around the world. And in addition to developing great technologies and great products, we want to make sure that we have the strongest partner ecosystem and the most vibrant community that go hand in hand with these technologies to deliver the right set of things for our developers around the world to be successful in what they're doing. So if I drill down one more step into what this really means, on the one hand, there are many kinds of developers in the world today. You got, take my 11-year-old, for example. Now, she doesn't know programming. She doesn't want to know programming, at least today. Maybe someday in the future, she may want to learn programming. But she spends a fair amount of time online. She's got an account on Facebook, and she wants to, get online. She wants to customize her homepage. She wants to be able to share, things that she is creating with her friends and family. I actually think about her as a developer. Though she isn't writing code, she's wanting to create an online experience. So that's one kind of a developer. You can take my wife, for example. She's an accountant by profession. She doesn't really, program for a living, but occasionally she dabbles a little bit into programming to automate some tasks that she would have otherwise, had to do manually. So that's on one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum, you got developers who code in for a living day in and day out, developers who live within a business environment, working with a team of people, building the next generation mission critical applications, and you got everything in between. So you got a variety of different kinds of developers with different skill sets, wanting to build different kinds of applications, different kinds of experiences, and they want to be targeting different kind of platforms. I may be wanting to build an application that I want to deliver on the web. I may want to build a rich client application. I want to build an application that runs on top of Office. I may want to build a server application. I may want to build a service, or I may want to service enable my application. There are different kinds of things that I want to do. So on the one hand, I have different kinds of developers with different skill sets, having different expectations of what they want to do. On the other hand, I've got a set of platforms that people can target. So our mission really is to be able to deliver a set of platform technologies and a set of tools that bridges these two worlds, whereby as a developer, no matter what application you want to build, no matter what platform you want to target, we have a consistent programming model in .NET and a tool set that you're very familiar with in Visual Studio and Expression Studio to be able to build and deliver the kinds of experiences that you want to do for your customers and for yourselves. So in the next couple of slides, I'm going to drill down a little bit into the kinds of advances that we are making on the platform side, the kind of advances we are making on the tools side, and then show you some of our products in action. If you take a look at our platform, as we speak here, the product team back at Microsoft is putting the finishing touches on .NET Framework 3.5. Now, .NET Framework 3.5, if you've sort of been a .NET developer and following the evolution of .NET, this is the next big step in terms of delivering higher levels of productivity for our developers. Now, with .NET, we also have a view or have a principle in mind where we really wanted to make .NET be a consistent programming model that has the broadest applicability. You may be building a device application using Compact Framework. You should be able to bring this. You should be able to use your .NET programming skills. You may be building an application for the client. You have the full-fledged .NET Framework. And most recently with Silverlight, we did announce that we are going to bring the power of .NET programming into the Silverlight runtime so that you can reuse your skills, both in terms of programming model and in terms of the programming language, and be able to deliver rich internet applications over the web. So we really wanted to have a broad applicability for .NET Framework, and we are heading along that direction with .NET Framework 3.5 as well. With 3.0, .NET Framework 3.0 on Windows Vista, we delivered significant new advances in terms of Windows Presentation Foundation, Windows Communication Foundation, and the Workflow Foundation. We are enhancing those frameworks and providing additional functionality in .NET 3.5. For example, we are adding a whole bunch of new controls for Windows Presentation Foundation. We are adding support for a set of protocols on WCF or Windows Communication Foundation to be able to build connected applications in an easy way. We are also taking the workflow designer that we had and integrating it into the product. So we are doing a variety of things. The one thing that I'm personally very, very excited about in .NET Framework 3.5 is support for language integrated query, or what we call as LINQ. Now, if you think about how programming has evolved over the years, you have the data world and you have the programming world, and they were sort of two different silos. Pretty much everybody out there builds data-enabled applications, but you as a developer need to understand the programming language, the programming constructs, the data language and the data constructs, and you'll have to figure out how to bring those two semantics together to build an application. We wanted to make that easier for our developers, and so we said that hey, from the same programming language that you're already used to, it could be either VB or C#, using the same language constructs, if we can make querying of data, could be relational data, could be XML data, could be objects, but if we can make querying of data a first-class citizen, then we feel like we've done we moved the bar considerably in terms of productivity for our developers, so that they can understand one set of constructs and be able to build data-enabled applications. So that's the work that we are doing with LINQ, and that we are on a path to delivering with .NET Framework 3.5. Silverlight That's sort of the new entry from a platform perspective from Microsoft. We shipped the first version of Silverlight earlier this year. Think about Silverlight as a cross-platform, cross-browser runtime that enables you to deliver a richer set of media experiences and internet applications over the web. Now, today, you can take the version of Silverlight that's out in the market, use JavaScript as a programming language, and be able to build cool things. With the next version of Silverlight that we are currently working on, which we'll deliver sometime next year, we are bringing in the power of .NET programming to the Silverlight platform so that you can reuse your .NET programming skills, the language that you're already used to and familiar with, and be able to create great experiences in Silverlight. So across the board, between the full .NET framework, Silverlight, and Compact framework, we feel like we are continuing to move the dial in terms of both functionality, security, reliability, and the like, as well as making coming true on our principle of providing broad applicability for the framework. So that's the set of advances that we are coming out with on the .NET framework side. Now, going hand in hand with that, if I think about what is happening on the tools front, like I mentioned before, as we are putting the finishing touches on .NET Framework 3.5, we're also putting the finishing touches on Visual Studio 2008. Now, this tool set, there are a couple of different things that I want to call out here. First, like every other previous version of Visual Studio, we are moving the bar considerably higher on enabling developer productivity. Link that I talked about is a great example of how we are moving the productivity higher for our developers. There are a couple other examples that I want to call out. One, we are for the first time in the history of Visual Studio supporting multi-targeting. Previously I would have told you, hey, you have to use a particular version of Visual Studio with a particular version of .NET framework to be able to build and target that framework, or an application that targets that framework. For the first time with Visual Studio 2008, you can have one tool set and be able to build applications that target .NET Framework 2.0, .NET Framework 3.0, and .NET Framework 3.5. So you don't have to have multiple tool sets, and we think that that's going to be a huge step forward. And looking at the feedback from developers, people are really, really happy that we are heading down the multi-targeting path. The other thing that we are doing with Visual Studio is making sure that that's the tool set that you can use to take advantage of the latest and greatest platform features. If you're building an application for the web, Ajax-style application, we got our ASP.NET Ajax extensions built into Visual Studio 2008, integrated into Visual Studio 2008. If you want to take advantage of the latest and greatest features in Windows Vista, be it Windows Presentation Foundation or Communication Foundation or Workflow, we have designers built for those things that makes it easy for you to develop applications. We are also making it easy for you to target applications that is going to be running on Office 2007. In the past, I would have said, hey, if you want to use Office as a development platform, go buy something called Visual Studio Tools for Office. That's a separate product. Go use it, and then you can get all the tools for Office. We got feedback from a lot of you that hey, that's a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. Why don't you make it easy for me to get access to the Visual Studio Tools for Office? So we've taken your feedback, and we've integrated Visual Studio Tools for Office into the Visual Studio Professional product. So each and every one of you that has access to Visual Studio 2008 Professional will automatically get all the tools for Office functionality right there, so that you can use Office as a smart client platform and be able to customize and build applications on top of Office. So between the server, between the client, between Office and devices, we have a good story in terms of Visual Studio being the tool set that you can use to take advantage of the latest and greatest platform features. We are also taking the next step forward in terms of our ALM tools journey with Visual Studio Team System and Team Foundation Server. A couple things that I want to call out here. We have made a bunch of work in terms of scalability and performance on Team Foundation Server, so that if you have a larger size development team and you have dozens of people wanting to work together in parallel, you can expect the right level of performance that makes you productive and gets you to do the things that you want to do. So that's one big advance that we did. The other thing that we did, we also took all of our database tools and really integrated them with the rest of Visual Studio Team System, so that database application development is truly a first-class citizen and is a part of our application lifecycle management tools process. So these are some of the things that you're going to see with Visual Studio 2008 that is going to come out later. We also released Expression Studio earlier this year, and the goal for us between Expression Studio and Visual Studio 2008 is to enable a seamless workflow between these two applications or these two tool sets, so that they both use the same language in terms of XAML. You can open up a project from Visual Studio and be able to open the project again in Expression Studio and know that you can work back and forth. So this enables a seamless workflow between the designers and developers that hopefully will enable people to deliver the right level of user experience in their applications. So these are some of the tools, advances that you're going to see in the near future here. Going hand in hand with platform advances and tools advances, we also want to continue delivering more prescriptive guidance and content that enables our developers to be successful. As part of our patterns and practices work, we are going to continue giving you prescriptive guidance for the latest platform technologies. There is one new thing that we are starting to talk about now, which is what we call the software plus services blueprint. Now think about this as a way to get you started easily to build a set of software plus services solution right out of the box. There's going to be some prescriptive guidance, there's going to be some tools, there's going to be some frameworks with access to source code, so that it's very easy for you to take your application and make it service enabled. So that's some work that we are very excited about. Now if you think about the work that we are doing on MSDN, historically MSDN has been a sort of a publishing platform for us. Microsoft has puts out a bunch of great information, source code, samples, bits, content, but it's sort of a one-way publishing environment where we give you a bunch of information and then the rest of the world consumes that information. That's a good start, but that's not where my vision ends for MSDN. I really want MSDN to be a community platform where as much as we can publish information, I really want to enable the rest of you to be able to publish information onto MSDN and be able to share your knowledge, your expertise with each other. If you think back to my earlier comments about wanting to make the community both vibrant as well as self-sufficient, I really need to provide a forum where the community can come together, share their knowledge with each other, and I really want to take MSDN in that direction. A couple of things that we've already started doing. We have something called MSDN Wiki now, where we took all of our product documentation and then published it on MSDN and said, hey, you as a community member outside Microsoft, you can come and take a look at that. You can annotate the content to the extent that you want. You can actually add some more content to that so that that can be shared with the rest of the world. I always say that hey, only about 10% of the content comes from Microsoft for any product. The rest of the content is in the community hands, except there isn't any easy way for the community to be able to share that information with the rest of the world. And I want to change that. I want to make it easy for the community to be able to participate in this. Likewise, we are translating Visual Studio or localizing Visual Studio into 9 different languages. The world has got a lot more languages, and there is a scale issue that we run to when we try to do everything for everybody. So I would rather create a way, using machine translation as a base technology that comes out of Microsoft research. I want to be able to give you a first cut translation into a new language and then enable the community to be able to do sanity tests and be able to build on top of that. Currently, we are working on a pilot project with a few community members in Brazil to get them to translate our product documentation to Portuguese. And that effort is going well. And we want to do more from a technology and tools perspective to enable communities around the world to be able to scale up how we can provide a broader reach to our tools and to our products to a set of people who want to get access to these products in their own language. There is something called MSDN Code Gallery that we are currently working on. Now today, I know how to put out some sample code either with the SDK or an MSDN that can be consumed by you all, but there is no easy way for me to say, hey, you have a great sample code, and you want to share it with the rest of the world, come publish it here. MSDN Code Gallery is something that is going to absolutely let you do that. We are looking at releasing a beta of MSDN Code Gallery sometime in the next month or two, and then hopefully in the beginning of next year, we would make this live so that each and every one of you who has some great samples and want to share your samples and your work with the rest of the world, you can come to MSDN and be able to do that. So I really want to transition MSDN from a one-way publishing platform to be a collaborative community platform. And we are well on our on the path to getting there. So I do want to take a minute here and announce a couple of things that we are going to make available today and in the near future. The first, we are making available a community technology preview for the Microsoft Sync framework. If you played around with Visual Studio 2008, you would know that we already have some functionality for offline synchronization built into the product. Now take this Microsoft Sync framework and think about taking data synchronization to a whole new level. Now what this Sync framework does is provide you a set of APIs. It's basically a framework that lets you easily sync enable your applications for two scenarios: to provide richer offline synchronization capabilities and to enable peer-to-peer collaboration capabilities. At the end of the day, as an application developer, the thing that you care about the most is to enable your customers, or is to enable the data to follow your customers, no matter where they are, no matter what application they are using, and no matter what device they are accessing that application from. So Microsoft Sync framework is a good step forward in terms of delivering on our data vision to be able to synchronize data independent or irrespective of the protocols that you're using, irrespective of the data store, and irrespective of the data type, so that you can always assure that data follows your customer. So that CTP is available as of today. I would encourage you to sort of download that, take a look at it, and give us your feedback, because as we try to make this framework a robust framework that spans multiple devices and multiple protocols, we really need your help in making sure that we are designing the framework and the APIs in the right way. The other thing that I want to announce is that we are making the first software plus services blueprint available today. Now note that this is going to be the first in a series of blueprints that targets different scenarios and different problem domain spaces. The first one that we are making available today is something that is going to let you take your Outlook 2007 and be able to quickly do an add-in that both exposes data from Outlook as well as enables you to interact with third-party services. Now here is the standard scenario that I think about. I'm a big user of Outlook 2007. I'm sort of sometimes absent-minded when it comes time to some personal things. If my wedding anniversary is coming up next month, oftentimes I don't do a good job planning for it in advance and buying a gift for my wife and doing all the right things. Wouldn't it be nice if Outlook 2007 is a little bit smarter than what it is today? If there is an add-in that I could do which sort of understands when my anniversary date is coming up, knows that my wife loves to shop at Nordstrom's or wherever she shops, and can automatically know that here is the budget that I'm planning on here is the amount of money that I'm planning on spending, and here are the kinds of gifts that I bought the last 5 years. And Nordstrom has a web service that it exposes, which says hey, here are all the things that you can buy in terms of clothes or in terms of jewelry or whatever else it is. And based on the budget and sort of past shopping experiences, it'll be nice if it goes out and buys something and automatically schedules for delivery to my house on our wedding anniversary date. That would be phenomenal. More than anything else, it would put me in the good books of my wife. So, but that's the kind of scenario that I want to enable. So there are some scenarios that you can do for personal reasons. There are a whole lot of scenarios that you can enable in a business environment. But being able to do add-ins to Outlook 2007 in a simple way, in an easy way, that lets you connect Outlook 2007 to external services, both in terms of exposing data and in terms of importing data, we think is a huge step forward. And this blueprint basically contains a set of framework with source code, a set of tools that works in the Visual Studio context, and a set of prescriptive guidance that enables people to be able to service enable Outlook 2007. And over the next few months, you're going to see us deliver more of these blueprints that enables you to build software plus services in a straightforward and easy way. This one I'm really, really, really excited. So these products are coming out of my division, so a little bit more unbiased excitement from my perspective. But we've been working on Visual Studio 2008 and .NET Framework 3.5 for a couple of years now, ever since we shipped Visual Studio 2005. As we sit here and speak today, the team is getting the final build out. We're going to go through one more round of regression testing. We're going to make sure that everything is fine. And later this month, before the end of this month, we will make .NET Framework 3.5 and Visual Studio 2008 available for download from MSDN for our MSDN subscribers, and pretty soon after that, we will make it available in retail for our customers. We are still planning on launching official business launch, marketing launch for Visual Studio 2008, along with Windows Server 2008 and SQL Server 2008, the end of February 2008. But as of this month, later this month, we'll be done with these two products, Visual Studio 2008 and .NET Framework 3.5, and these products will be available for you to start using. So I'm really, really jazzed about this and excited about this milestone. Thank you. So as I was getting ready, thinking about like what should I say here, the rest of the keynote, I had like a couple choices. One thing I thought I could sort of spend a lot of time, maybe an hour, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5, talking about all the great features in Visual Studio 2008 and .NET Framework 3.5. And then sort of sanity prevailed, and I said hey, both respecting people's time and not having to bore people with a monologue here, I thought I'll take pause here and then show you some of the cool features in these products that are going to enable you to build great applications. So I want to invite Tony Goodhue, one of my colleagues who works in the product marketing team, to come up here on stage and show you these products. Welcome,
Thanks,
Tony.
Tom. So what I'm going to show you today is how developers can be more productive building web applications using Visual Studio 2008. So what I have here is a website for a fictional retail company, a fictional supermarket chain called Contoso Foods. Contoso Foods have been entering the online food business, and they've been building their website using ASP.NET 2.0. So I've opened up their existing ASP.NET 2.0 application inside Visual Studio 2008, and I can now work against this project without needing to deploy anything more to my servers. So this, you can see, is the website. It has a data grid, it has some list views, some drop-downs. Let's have a look at what that looks like inside Visual Studio. This is my shopping list page, and you can see the design, the editor has the color syntax highlighting. It's what you've become known to expect inside Visual Studio for building web applications. Well, one of the things that we wanted to do was to make developers far more productive inside the web environment. So we have not only the editor view and the design view that you're familiar with, we also now have a new split view. The split view enables you to see both the HTML code and the design view at the same time. And we'll keep the two windows synchronized. So if I click on a control, we'll jump to the right part in the window. If I click down here, we'll jump our source around. And if I did the same thing in the source view, we'd jump the design window around as well. We've also added a great new feature called our breadcrumb list. If you look down the bottom of the screen here, you can see our breadcrumb list that shows where the asset is that you've selected and how it exists in the HTML hierarchy. You can also hover over the item and see the actual declaration in your HTML page. This is a great way for you to see where in the rendering path a control will be when you go and start working with it on the design or the source views. We've also done an extensive amount of work around cascading style sheets. It was one of the big customer requests for Visual Studio 2008. We now have full cascading style sheet support. We will link the pages to external style sheets, and we'll correctly put styles that you create into those external style sheets. So if I select an item here, I can go in and view my style sheet, and you'll see down here that I have a list of my styles, and when I hover over them, I can get a tooltip that shows what the style definition is. And we also have a great new feature that will help you understand exactly what's happening when you apply a style. If I click on View and select CSS Properties, we now have this CSS Properties window. What the Properties window enables me to do is to see what the order of styles are that are applied. And a lot of times, an HTML developer will look at an asset and go, why isn't that rendering correctly? With this property grid, you can actually go in and see where you are, what rules are being applied. And for example, in this particular case, I could scroll down to position, and I can see down here that I'm applying a few items to that style in the position grouping with top, width, and making it relative. So not only have we done all of that work, we've also made it pretty easy for you to upgrade. When you move from one version of Visual Studio to another, you usually will move on a framework as well. So we have an ability to upgrade, and I'm going to select Properties, and I'm going to click our Target Framework drop-down. One of the great new features in Visual Studio 2008 is a thing we call multi-targeting. What this enables you to do is to use Visual Studio and select the version of the framework that you want your project to target, whether it's 2.0, 3.0, or 3.5. So I'm going to select 3.5 because I want to upgrade my project. I'm going to click on yes, and there we go. I've now upgraded my website from 2.0 to 3.5.
That's fantastic. But if I want to use Visual Studio 2008 and still target 2.0, I could still have done that. I don't need to have necessarily upgraded.
That's absolutely correct, Soma. I can open up my existing websites, I can work against them, and by selecting the target framework as being 2.0, I will have a constrained view of my tool and be able to develop against that platform. So what I'm going to do is go in and add a new item to my website. One of the great new innovative features that we've made inside Visual Studio is LINQ, or Language Integrated Query. This enables developers to easily access objects, XML, and relational data in a consistent way, and with a concise, straightforward set of language text. So I'm going to select the link to SQL class, and we'll call that Contoso Inventory, and I'm going to click Add. What we'll do now is add the link to SQL file, and we'll bring up our Object Relational Designer. When I go and click on my Server Explorer, I can select my categories, orders, orders detail, products, and suppliers, and I can drag those over to the design surface. Right now, we'll actually go look at the server, we'll extract the schema for those tables, and we'll work out the foreign key relationships and present this information to you. And here you can see how my tables lay out and are related to each other. Now that I've done that, I've created a thing called the data context, and I can go and use that just like I would use data sources and data in previous versions of Visual Studio. So let me go and open up my shopping list again. Let's have a look at our design view. And I'm going to click on the Smart tag for my drop-down button and choose Data Source. We'll create a new data source and click on OK. And we'll select Link. Click on OK. We've already auto-filled the context that I'm using. And I want to have a look at my products table, and so I'll click Finish. And I want to show the product name in that drop-down, so I click OK. What I've just done there is very simply show you how to create a link entry that takes your databases and surfaces that data, and how easily you can consume that in an ASP.NET component. But just simply link was not all we did in moving forward to the .NET Framework 3.5. We also integrated the ASP.NET AJAX controls. So now when you get Visual Studio 2008, you have all that AJAX ability inside the toolbox and inside the environment. So I want to go in and AJAX enable my page. Currently, my shopping list, when I change pages, will do a round trip to the server. I want to get rid of that. So let me change back to design. To source. And I'll scroll down to my grid view, and I'm going to drop in a little piece of ASP.NET code that I have here. And basically what it creates is a script manager, which is the base AJAX class, and an update panel. The update panel is what we use to wrap a control so that it gets AJAX enabled. So I'm going to put my grid view inside that control. Oops. Let me go in and type that again. And, wrong spot. There we go. So now I have my AJAX control and I have my grid view enabled. Now the code looks a little bit messy here. What I want to do is I want to clean it up, and there's a cool feature inside Visual Studio, Control KD. And what that will do is go and auto-format your code, so it makes it look like you've done actual thinking about how you're laying stuff out. So now that I've done that, we can go back to our design surface, and we can see that I have my link data source, I have my Ajax script manager there. I've now enabled this page. Now, because I'm on 3.5, I can also take advantage of integrating things such as Silverlight into my application. Now, my designers have been looking at how people shop. And what they've discovered is that a lot of people like the experience in the shop of being able to go to an aisle and walk up and down the aisle and see the different items. And they find that when they go into an online store, that experience doesn't exist. And so they'd like to try and replicate that. Well, they've gone and built a Silverlight control for me that does this virtual browsing of an aisle. So I'm going to go over to my aisle browser page now, and I'm going to drop this control into my function here. Now I have a JavaScript function that'll launch that control, and JavaScript is now a first-class member of the environment. So you can see I have color syntax highlighting. If I was to type, I would have IntelliSense. I have drop-down support, I have code completion, and so on. Now I don't need to do that because I happen to have a little piece of code already written. And here is a call that will go and instantiate my Silverlight object. Now, I talked about JavaScript being a first-class member. Well, being a first-class member is not just simply having the support in the IDE. We want it to also have full support in the debugger. So I can set a breakpoint against this item. And now if I run my application, what we'll see is my shopping list is rendered. I have my drop-down linked to my product names. And if I go and look through my shopping cart, you'll see that I do a jump back and forwards because the shopping cart data grid is now Ajax enabled. I can click on virtual browsing, and we hit the breakpoint. This works in IE, and it also will work in Firefox as well. And if I hit F5, we'll run our page, we'll load our Silverlight object, and I can now zoom up and down my aisle and select the item that I'm actually after. So what I just showed you, Soma, was how you could be much more productive as a web developer using Visual Studio 2008, integrating things such as Link, Ajax, and Silverlight into your web applications.
Great. So, Tony, you did a good job showing what some of the things that we could do with Visual Studio 2008 and .NET Framework that really is sort of what I call the consumer-facing or the customer-facing side of things. Presentation, some ASP.NET, some data binding with Link, and that's all great stuff. Now, what about some of the features in Visual Studio 2008 and .NET Framework 3.5 that let's say if I'm running Contoso, I think about doing it on the back end or the back office, things like workflow, things like server-side processing. Is there anything you can show here?
Absolutely, Soma.
Okay.
What I can show you, and let me just switch screens, is I can show you some of the client and server features of Visual Studio 2008. Contoso Foods uses Microsoft SharePoint to track their business. They keep a track of a number of key performance indicators. One of the key performance indicators that they keep track of is how many times customers go into a store and ask for a particular product. And if I look at the business side, what I can see is that in my product selection index, I have a warning status. So I'm going to click on that to see what the issue is. What I can see here is that we have a backlog of products in requests for Quince paste. Now, the reason that we have this, my business guys have gone and had a look at it, and what they've discovered is that our vendor approval process is too slow. So they came to the development group and they asked us, could we speed that up? And one way that we can speed up the process is to automate it by making use of automated workflow. So let me go and show you the workflow that we actually built. Here is our workflow designer that's showing the workflow that a vendor approval will go through. The first thing that we'll do is we'll have a look at the actual application. We'll do some reviews around credit checking and so on. Then what we'll do is we'll actually ask our procurement people to approve the process, and then we'll tell our store manager that they have a new product and they need to do something with it. Now, what I'm going to go do is go back to Contoso Foods, and I'm actually going to start the workflow process. So let's have a look at the vendor and pipeline. Let me edit this item. I'm going to select in progress and click on OK. And here you'll see that we're now back in my workflow and we've broken on my breakpoint in my workflow process. We have integrated debugging in Visual Studio now for workflows, whether they're built on Workflow Foundation, on Windows SharePoint Services, or on Microsoft Office SharePoint Server. So you'll be able to do development against all those three workflow platforms. The Workflow Designer and design tools are available in every version of Visual Studio as well. So you don't need to go and get anything additional to be able to build this type of workflow-enabled application. So I'm going to go and run this. And what we'll see is that my workflow will run through and complete and return me back to our home page for Contoso Foods. Now that my workflow is going on, what we've done is it's sent an email to our procurement people, and it's asked them to review the vendor application. Now, typically, this is the vendor application that they'd have to review. It's a Word document. It has information about the company. It has information about their business, the products, and so on. Well, the procurement person would look at this document, and then they'd go off and query some online services. They'd have a look at what customers think of this particular product and this particular company. They'd get some prices. They'd have a look at what an actual product looks like. Now, it'd be great if what we could do is place that information into Word so that my procurement people don't need to do a context switch from one application to another. They can stay in the application that makes sense for what they're doing, the business process, and actually execute the business process from inside that application. So to do that, what I've done is I've gone and built a Office custom task pane. And this custom task pane enables me to stick that inside Word. And when those documents are loaded, this task pane will come up. Now, I want to provide not only the information about the product reviews and the pricing, which we've done through a set of controls built around Windows Communication Foundation and Windows Live Services. They'll go up to our live services, extract that information, and then present that to us. I also want to give them that view of the product. So what I can do is I can make use of Windows Presentation Foundation to go and get an image of the product, present that image to me, and enable me to look at that. Now, I have a control already written in Windows Presentation Foundation that does that. What I need to do is integrate it into my Windows Forms application right now. So to do that, I go to my toolbox, and I drag over this control called Element Host. Element Host is a control that we've built that enables interoperability between Windows Forms and WPF controls.
Is it a two-way interrupt or is it a one-way interrupt?
It's a two-way interrupt. So what this means is that you can go in a Windows Forms application and drop in Element Host. You can go into a WPF application and drop in the corresponding host control and host the right technology in the right place. And so you can evolve your existing WinForms applications with WPF controls without needing to make a jump straight to a new technology. So I'm going to dock this in my parent container, and we'll select my vendor products control, and I have a default representation, which is the Quince paste item. Now that I have that, because I built this as a custom control or a custom task pane, if we go back and have a look at my Woodrow documentation, what I'll see is my vendor application, and I'll see my custom task pane. Here you can see the product reviews, the product pricing, and if I click down the drop-down, I'm going to have a look at Quince paste, and here is my WPF control rendering. And so I can have a look at the product, I can move it around. If I had really, really good eyesight, I could look at the nutrition facts. So now, as a procurement officer, I can go and get all the information I need to make my decision. Now, for the purposes of this demo, because it'd be a short one if I didn't do this, I'm going to click on Accept, And if you remember our workflow, when we went back to here, one of the things that we wanted to do was to go in and look and alert the store manager that there's a new item. Well, the procurement officer has approved it. We'll go through the process of ordering it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make use of SharePoint Server's ability to directly create Outlook entities. And so we've directly created an Outlook task for our store manager to say, hey, you have this new product. Now, one of the cool things that we want to do about a new product is that we know there's demand for it. So we'd like to be able to place it in our store in a location that would generate a lot of interest and people would buy it. So what I've had done is my developers have gone and built me a control that shows a representation of my store. But I really want to take this representation and extend it and do some very cool things with it. Now, because this representation is built in WPF, what it means is that developers and designers can work together on the same project, and we can integrate the workflow without them getting in each other's way. So while my developers were building this control, my designers were going and using Expression Blend to work with that control themselves to do some great 3D rendering in it. So what I can do is I can go in and we can zoom this and have a look at it. I can move it around. I'm just going to zoom it to the window so you can see what I have here. My designers have created a timeline that will basically take this representation and turn it 90 degrees for me. So all I need to do is go in here and add my click, and you can see that I've added my zoom task here. And now I'm going to go in and save my documents. And if I go back to Visual Studio, we're told that, hey, the designer has modified the asset outside of the space. So I can click on yes. I can ask it to re-render the control. So it's going, looking at it, it's re-rendering the control. And now that I have that, my Outlook add-in, which I use a Microsoft Visual Studio Tools for Office, Outlook form region, to take over control of the task. This control is now added to that. So let's go and have a look at what that would look like inside Outlook. Here's my task that's been created. So I'm going to go click on that. And what we see here is now the task, the representation of that store. And if I click on my aisle, we'll actually zoom in, look at the aisle, and I can click on a product and I can pull an item from that product. Now I could go in and stick my quince paste in this location, knowing as the store manager that this is a highly trafficked area. So what I've just shown you, Soma, is how you can build workflow-enabled applications. You can debug and integrate with SharePoint Server. You can build Office applications easily with Visual Studio. And you can integrate the designer and the developer workflow across all these different asset types inside a corporation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. Now, Tony just spent the last 15, 20 minutes showing a sliver of the kinds of things that you could do with Visual Studio 2008 and .NET Framework 3.5. I'm hoping that a lot of you have already sort of had a chance to play around with Beta 2 of Visual Studio 2008. If you have, great. If you haven't, now is the time to sort of pick it up and give it a try and see what kinds of things this tool set and this framework enables you to do. So far, I spent a little bit of time talking about Visual Studio 2008 and .NET Framework 3.5. We had Tony come out here and show you some of the things that you could do with these products. Now I thought it'll be interesting to take you a little bit behind the scenes and show you what were some of the things that we did in the making of Visual Studio 2008 and .NET Framework 3.5. Can we please roll the video?
Visual Studio 2008. With a release date set for February, it is highly anticipated. And Microsoft is making a lot of promises to the developer world.
We are super excited. Visual Studio 2008 enables developers to create amazing user experiences and significantly increase their productivity.
It's a huge step forward. These are the ultimate tools for developers.
But is it all too good to be true? Do these ivory tower Microsoft executives get how hard it is for developers?
We're constantly asked to do more, faster, and to cut costs while we're doing it.
So much of what I write on a day-to-day basis involves working with data. What are you doing to make that easier for me?
One of the great features of ES 2008 is the new Link language support that's coming with VB and C#. This makes querying and manipulating data much, much easier. And as a result, you can dramatically reduce the number of lines of code you need to write in order to perform data access in your applications.
The thing is, I work on huge projects. I've heard the promises, but how do I know this release can do all they say it can? This is an ops, right?
Little did the development community suspect, inside these maze-like hallways, under these dreary gray Seattle skies, a shocking idea was born. A way to prove Visual Studio could handle the big jobs.
We know Visual Studio is a great product.
We thought, why not use Visual Studio Team System and Visual Studio Team Foundation Server to get 2008 out the door?
I love it. If a company of our size and complexity can make such a big bet on our own products, that's a very compelling message to our customers.
Insanity! That's the only appropriate word for it. Or maybe loony. That would also suffice.
It would surely obliterate the myth that we weren't at enterprise level.
No kidding. With 1,000 engineers over a 2-year product cycle, 38 million lines of code for hundreds of thousands of customers, how much more enterprise can you get?
Well, Microsoft has gone too far. As I wrote in my previous book, and I quote, "Eating your own dog food, or in Microsoft's case, your own software, is proof positive that you believe in your product." Or, food. Well, software. End quote. But now they're saying that they use their own product to build their own product. How is that even possible?
We absolutely used MS Build. For the 2008 release, it's been greatly improved.
Multi-processor and multi-targeting features make MS Build significantly more efficient and performance optimized.
It specifies how to build an entire software project. Over 96% of the Visual Studio 2008 source base was compiled using MS Build.
Oh, please. Listen, they're saying they used a feature of their new product to build their new product. If the product wasn't built yet, how did it have a feature? Am I speaking a new language here?
Languages? Absolutely. C++, C#, VB, dynamic languages. We are speaking all the languages of our developers. And with great integrated features like Link, we are helping them work with data like they never could before.
Unless, Microsoft has developed a time machine. Wait, that explains it. Yes, that way they could use Visual Studio's MS Build feature after it was completed to make it before it was built. Oh, brilliant. Yes, I feel a sequel coming on. Eating your own dog food before you actually have a dog.
With the complexity and size of projects these days, developers have had to choose.
Yeah, product quality or project completion.
But no longer. With Visual Studio 2008, they have the tools to, how do you say it? To have their cake and eat it too.
Too good to be true. Sounds more like too good and true. This has been VS, True Development Story.
Thanks. This sort of, though there is a little bit of humor, there is, some truth to it that I wanted to spend a minute talking about. For the last 9 months, starting about like January, February of this calendar year, we've been self-hosted on the version of Team Foundation server that we are delivering with Visual Studio 2008, and our entire development process has been running on top of that. For me personally, one of the things that I found a whole lot of value in running TFS is to get the kind of insight and transparency into knowing where we are with the project at any given point in time. That's always been sort of a pain point for us. And if you look back to Visual Studio 2005, it was a little bit longer in terms of when we wanted to deliver. And part of it was because getting transparency into the project when you have a complex, large project sometimes can get tricky. And I would tell you, in hindsight, or looking at it now, you would say that, hey, it looks like you guys did a good job delivering this product, with the right set of features, good quality in a timely manner. But I'll tell you, like along the way, there have been a whole bunch of road bumps that we had to sort of tide over. And the only reason I think we were able to do what we did is because we had good visibility into the project at all stages of the project, knowing hey, where things weren't going on track, where things needed help, where we needed to apply more resources or do some scoping. So being able to do course correction along the way was a huge part of us being able to deliver Visual Studio 2008 and .NET Framework 3.5 on time. In some sense, sort of my philosophy around this is this: when we are building tools, we really want to be using what we ship to our customers, and conversely, what we ship is what we want to use internally to be doing product development inside Microsoft. As much as we have great products, we have great technologies, as part of being a platform company, we're always thinking about how do we have the broadest partner ecosystem to be working hand in hand with us. Because we do deliver a platform, we do deliver a set of offerings, but I fully expect our partners from around the world to be able to build additional functionality so that between what they have and what we have the most comprehensive offerings for our customers. So as of today, we have over 200 partners delivering more than 2,000 products that are add-ins and plugins and work on top of Visual Studio that really provide you a broad set of functionality. And to make sure that our partner ecosystem continues to be strong, effective, successful kind of thing, we are making a couple changes to our partner program. The first, in the past, we used to have a license restriction where we would tell you as a partner that, hey, if you're using Visual Studio, you can use that IDE and that tool set to build applications that target the Microsoft platform. And we've heard loud and clear from some of our partners that they have genuine business needs to be able to target additional platforms in addition to the Microsoft platform. And so I'm excited to announce today that we are going to remove that license restriction from Visual Studio, both from the product and from the SDK, so that you can use Visual Studio and Visual Studio tools to be able to build an application that targets not just the Microsoft platform, but any other platform of your choice. And that, I think, is a huge step forward for our partner community. Thanks. The other thing that I want to announce today is that for our vSub Premier partners, we want to make access to the source code for Visual Studio available, so that as you're designing and building an add-in to Visual Studio, you get a chance to understand how Visual Studio works, and more importantly, be able to debug your add-in in the most effective way. So to the extent that we can give you source code to help you be more successful building on top of Visual Studio, we absolutely want to enable that for you all. I do want to take this opportunity to invite Dan Fernandez, who's the lead product manager in the developer division, to come up here and show you some of the power of Visual Studio extensibility as we take this tool set and enable developers to target additional platforms. Hi, Dan.
Hi.
Thanks for coming up.
Thanks. As we talk about Visual Studio Shell, it really is the ability to bring the Visual Studio experience to any platform. So what I'm going to show you today is one of the examples that we've taken, and this is an open source project that'll be on CodePlex when Visual Studio shipped, called Add-on Studio for World of Warcraft. Now, World of Warcraft is a game built by Blizzard Entertainment, and what we've done is we've brought the Visual Studio experience to World of Warcraft. So today, this is the experience that add-on builders use to build add-ons to World of Warcraft to play the game. Notepad. I think we can do better. This is Add-on Studio for World of Warcraft. As you can see, we have custom images, a design surface, project system, properties window, and toolbox, the experience that we're used to as developers. So what we're going to do is build an add-on called Opponent Analyzer.
Hey, Dan.
Yes.
How long did it take for us to pull together this add-on studio?
This was built by one of our partners, EPAM, in just a couple weeks. 2 developers, a couple weeks, to be able to do this. And it's really because we're using the foundation, so you don't have to rewrite all these different features. Project templates, item templates, all those things are built, and then you can just customize it to your specific domain. So the opponent analyzer add-in we're going to build, what it does is, as I change targets, it'll let me know whether it's something that I can kill or something that's going to kill me. And the other thing it does, I'm also a Halo fan. So as we kill characters, we're actually going to play some MP3 files from Halo. So let me show you it in action. Are you all excited? So I'm going to drag and drop a control. Notice we get a visual designer and snap lines. And as we move this, we'll simply align this. And this texture is going to represent an image, and that'll be the image we change. We can set properties like the image file name. And notice it dynamically pulls in whatever images are there, so we get a nice drop down to choose what images. So, and let me just click View Code here and show you underneath the covers, that design surface is still building that same XML file. In fact, we now have IntelliSense on that XML file, but it's still making it that much better than Notepad. So, and we also have smart tags. We'll make our frame movable, so that way, in the game, people can easily move it. And this is totally extensible, so you can build this on any of these different toolbox controls. Now, we'll double-click and go into the code. We have a couple different things we do when the frame loads. We run an event for when we change the target to say whether whether we can defeat the person or not. And then we also listen to when the hostile player death event. And what we do, the function we're going to show, is this one called set texture and sound. And what this does is, depending on how many people we killed, we're going to get a count. And if we kill 2, we're going to change that texture that we saw to a double kill image, and then we're going to play the double kill MP3 file. Now, let's just add a little bit of code here. And I'll start typing, and as I click, you see we get IntelliSense for a totally different language. This is Lua, and we can even do things like code snippets, and we get the different glyphs. And I'll say if count equals 3, and let me just save this here. Say texture 1, and we'll say set texture. And we will set it to triple kill if we get 3. And let's also play a different sound file. And we can just choose play sound file. And in this case, we're going to choose this sound file, Kilimanjaro. MP3. Okay, so let me save our file. And what I'm going to do is actually jump in live into World of Warcraft and show you this add-on. Oop, disconnect. Okay, we're going to log in real quick. This is my wife's account, I swear. And there's my wife's character. So we can see our add-ons loaded. So here we are in the game, and I'm going to target something that's the same level as me, and you should see a question mark show up there in our opponent analyzer, and we can drag this around. So let's go pick a couple targets, and we'll sneak up on them. There's one. So we get the squirrel, and that means it's low enough level, so we should be able to kill it easily. Let's kill this one too. Double kill. So there we saw the double kill audio, and let's maybe try one more here. See if we can get the triple kill. There we go. All right, looks like we need to just take everyone else out here. All right. So I think it's time for our victory dance here. Oh, yeah. Now, we can build additional add-ons and even more complex add-ons. So, ooh, another friend, great. That wasn't scripted. Let's move over here and show you an RSS reader built into game. So Soma, I can now read your blog directly from World of Warcraft. Once we add email in here, I'm never going to have to leave. Right. And this is all using a .NET class that converts into a Lua data structure. So, and these projects will be available as open source projects as well. So the Visual Studio Shell, free IDE. This project, Add-on Studio for World of Warcraft, will be free open source. It gives you everything. So whether you're a World of Warcraft player or you're an ISV, it gives you an intelligence language service, everything that you need to see how to build your own custom IDE using Visual Studio.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Don't go away now.
Yeah.
I don't need Dan's help a little more, so I'm going to ask him to stand here for a few more minutes. As I mentioned earlier, with Visual Studio Express Editions, we wanted to broaden our appeal for Visual Studio to a set of beginner developers, hobbyists, and enthusiasts. The other thing that we've done in the last year is to come out with a new tool called PopFly, which really is a tool that enables you to pull together mashups and websites and be able to customize your apps in a simple way using a visual set of tools without having to really get into programming. And we made PopFly available as an open beta last month, October 17th. And in the last few weeks since then, we've had about 100,000 people sign up for the beta program and start building some creative stuff, and more importantly, giving us feedback about PopFly so that we can really take that feedback and make it more useful and more effective for our customers. So today I want to announce the availability of PopFly Explorer. Now think about this as a new add-in to Visual Studio that lets you do two things. The first thing, if you are using PopFly to create a Silverlight gadget, and you want to be able to use that Silverlight gadget into your web page, PopFly Explorer helps you do that in a very easy way. The second thing it does is lets it take your web page that you've created and then publish it through PopFly so that you can share your web page with your friends and family. So a great add-in to Visual Studio that leverages the power of Visual Studio and still gets you to do the kinds of things that you want to do. More importantly, if you've ever been interested in making your website look a lot cooler, that became a whole lot easier with PopFly Explorer and the integration between PopFly and Visual Studio. So I do want to have Dan here, since he's also the product manager for PopFly, to show us what PopFly Explorer can do for us. Dan, take it.
So we now have Visual Web Developer Express open, and we have a custom HTML page, and we're using what's called PopFly Explorer Beta. PopFly Explorer Beta was made available to download today. And what it does is enables me to add any Silverlight gadget on PopFly to my website, as well as be able to publish HTML, CSS, AJAX-enabled applications to PopFly for free. So what I want to do is first, let me show you PopFly. And we're going to build a couple Silverlight gadgets to decorate my web page. Laughing at the Bill Jeep. Yeah. So let me just create my mashup. And what I'm going to do is use live image search. And I'll go here. And for those of you not familiar with PopFly, PopFly is an online web-based tool built in Silverlight that enables you to build applications, gadgets, and so forth. And I'm going to add live image search onto our designer here, and I'll zoom into the block, and I will add Warcraft as our search term, and I'll zoom out. Now I'm going to click this light bulb, and what this does is shows me other blocks that are image display blocks that can connect to this. So to be able to build my custom Silverlight application, I don't actually need to write Silverlight. I can use these pre-built templates and then simply connect the results of the live image search web service directly to that Silverlight gadget, and let's see what that looks like. So there we are, retrieving images dynamically from the web. And because this is a Silverlight gadget, it does dynamic resizing as well. Now let's save this, and I'll call it my new gadget. And I'll save this. And I'll go to my project page and also share this. And then we're going to go back into Visual Web Developer Express and add this to my page. So we'll click Share. Now, back here, we'll click Refresh. And I see my new gadget. And now, for me to just add this here, I can just drag and drop, and I can resize the container. And it's automatically smart, does a transparency, even though I have a complex HTML layout. One, the Visual Studio Designer understands it. Two, is I can embed these Silverlight iframes. Now, I can also choose any projects from my friends on Popfly. So here's one of my friends' projects. And I can click here, and in fact, you can see the properties for these projects. And I can do things, for example, like rate this project. And I've rated it 5 out of 5. And let's just add it by dragging and dropping it onto the design surface. And we'll click Save. And now let's view this in browser. And we'll maximize this. And it's making the dynamic web request. And there we have our Silverlight gadgets, the same exact page, and we can reuse JavaScript and CSS. And let me just jump to, I already had this already published on my website. So if you're looking to publish your web pages, Ajax applications, including Silverlight, you can do this easily. And here's the project running live on the web. Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan. And like Dan just finished mentioning, Popfly Explorer is available today in beta for you to pick it up and try it out. So, if you go back and think about one of the earlier slides that I had where I talked about our mission and how we want to provide a comprehensive set of offerings, I sort of said, hey, let me take a minute and think about what are the sets of products, technologies, runtimes, tools, platforms, applications that we have available today for you as developers to be able to build the kind of application that you want to build. And I had to start reducing the font size and trying to fit all these things in one slide. But it's an amazing story here. No matter what kind of a developer you are, what your skill set is, what kind of application you want to build, what kind of platform you want to target, we've really got a broad, rich array of offerings that you can use today. Now, so this is exciting because it's already available. Now, if I take a look forward and look at hey, what is coming down the pipe in the next month, next 6 months, next 12 months, next 24 months, and I'm even more excited at what we have coming in the pipeline. The amount of innovation, the kind of products that we've got underway is just mind-boggling for me. I'm really excited to be a part of Microsoft and the developer division at this point in time. We are, as I mentioned before, we are putting the finishing touches for Visual Studio 2008 and .NET Framework 3.5, and we'll ship that later this month. Moving forward, we are already starting to work on the next version of Visual Studio Team System, which we've codenamed Rosario. We've delivered a CTP of that, and we'll deliver a few more CTPs in the coming months. But we are well underway in terms of starting to design and code that product. We're also working in parallel on Expression Studio, the next version of Expression Studio, which is the first time you're going to be able to take that tool set and be able to target Silverlight and build both media as well as rich internet application scenarios. The next version of Silverlight that we are working on is where we are going to bring .NET programming into this platform so that you can reuse your skills, your programming knowledge and expertise to this platform. So if I look at all these things, plus all the server products between SQL Server and BizTalk Server and the web server, we really have a great set of products targeted at the people who care about the application platform, people who are developers who want to build great applications for their personal use, to enhance their productivity, to be able to run the next generation businesses. We just have a fantastic slew of offerings coming down the pipe in the next few months and the next couple of years. I want to spend a minute on Rosario, the next version of Visual Studio Team System. This is going to be the next big step in our journey towards providing an end-to-end set of tools that truly makes the whole team and in some sense the whole IT organization productive. If I have to sort of summarize the key themes or the key pillars for Rosario, there are two things that come to my mind. One, I really want to enable you to build the right thing. And when I say build the right thing, here is what I mean. The development group that I run, pretty much like any other development group around the world, I have a finite amount of resources and a seemingly infinite set of tasks. And I always struggle with hey, am I focused on having my people work on the right priorities? That's always a challenge that any software group goes through. So being able to have a rich way to prioritize your features, your requests, your the things that you want to work on, understanding which resources are working on which priorities, and being able to track that during the duration of the project is something that we've heard loud and clear from our customers. So we are going to provide a deep level of integration between Project Server and Visual Studio Team System and Team Foundation Server in Rosario. We already started doing some down payment on this with the work that we've done both in Visual Studio 2008 as well as some tools that we provided in off cycle which enable certain level of integration between Project and Team Foundation Server. Actually, some of that work is already available on Codeplex along with the source code for the communities to sort of take a look at it and play with it. But that is a big investment area for us in Rosario. So once I help you decide to build the right thing, I also want you to help figure out how to build it the right way. And by that I mean, I want to provide a set of testing tools much more comprehensive than what we have today. I can see a lot of things that we can do here. We can provide you a way to do test case management, a way to track manual testing, a way to do rich client functionality testing, a way to do stress testing, a way to do load testing, a way to do regression testing, a way to do code coverage analysis, a way to do test case prioritization. I can see a whole slew of comprehensive test tools that we can do that enable you to build things the right way. So those are the two sort of big areas of investment that we are thinking about doing in the Rosario timeframe. If there is one thing I want you to remember about Rosario, that's the tool set that we want to help you build the right thing and build it the right way. So I want to quickly summarize the sets of things that sort of I talked about earlier. The big thing, Visual Studio 2008 and .NET Framework 3.5 is going to be available to you later this month. We are doing a number of things to enable our partners to be even more successful, both in terms of removing the license restrictions so that you can use Visual Studio to target Microsoft platform as well as other platforms of your choice, as well as giving our vSub Premier partners access to the source code for Visual Studio IDE so that you can do a better job of being able to design and debug your add-in to Visual Studio. And we've got a variety of additional tools and offerings that we are making available either in beta or a community technology preview to help you, use our technologies and build cooler, richer functionality into your applications. So that's sort of a summary. And you can go up to Microsoft.com vStudio, Visual Studio, and be able to look at all this information and be able to pick up the bits that you care about. I don't want to close my talk with one slide. I'm sort of, I think about my job as delivering a set of technologies, a set of products, a set of platforms to enable developers to be successful. That's sort of, bread and butter in terms of what I do. But then I think, hey, as part of doing that, there are a couple of core things that are near and dear to me that I really think about as my commitments on behalf of Microsoft to each and every one of you. And when I think about it that way, here are a couple of things that come to my mind. First and foremost, I'm a big believer in being transparent and open with you all. The more transparent I can be, the more I can get you engaged and involved in the product development process right from day one, where I can share with you my designs, where I can share with you my early code, where I can get feedback from you in a timely manner and be able to react to that feedback. I feel like that's the best way for us to be able to have a good partnership and relationship and know that we are building the right products for our customers. So we will continue pushing the bar on this, and I need your help and your participation in making sure that we are doing the right things here. As part of that, being transparent and having this two-way dialogue, I want to make sure that there is a robust mechanism in which you as a customer or a community member can give us feedback that flows directly into the product team, and know that the product team can respond and reach out to you. You can talk to the product team through blogs. You can go up to MSD and Feedback Center or the Connect system and be able to give feedback, and know that the person who's building that particular feature or that particular technology gets your feedback directly, and hopefully they'll turn around and have a conversation with you. But enabling a two-way dialogue and a good feedback mechanism is something that I'm committed to. And I've already talked about my feelings or my thoughts about having both the broadest partner ecosystem and a vibrant and self-sufficient community. So these are sort of a set of commitments that I want to take on behalf of Microsoft with each and every one of you. And I do need your help and your cooperation, your partnership in delivering on these commitments. If I have to sum up these commitments, I think about these as a way for us to learn together, for us to grow together, and for us to be successful together. So that's how I think about this. With that, I do want to close this. I do want to thank you again for giving me the opportunity to get a chance to talk to you today this afternoon. I do wish you a great next few days here at TechEd, and hopefully you get to see some of the good things that this city has to offer. Have fun, and thank you.